All right guys, so the first step is to have your piece cut out that's big enough to cover up and down. Make sure you account for any curves, and you always get the lowest point all the way up to the highest point so that you have a proper height here. And then lengthwise curving all the way around to make sure that you have full coverage and you make it to both ends of the bumper corners. You will get a little bit of stretch out of this, so let's say you have 100 inches total, you can probably stretch it to like 102 depending on how you do it. Have all your tools ready. I got a couple magnets, got my tool kit on me, I got my heat source ready to go. So first things first, let's get this positioned up. I'm gonna go ahead and put it off to one side, use my fender area since it is magnetic or steel, will magnet hold it. Kind of just put this up into place, hold it while I then bring this out. And I'm checking to make sure that I have adequate coverage on height. Come around, and I have way plenty of excess going around the corners and the edges here. So I'm just gonna double check to make sure my height's good, my coverage is good. Yep, I got plenty here. I make it over the top, and I make it to the lowest point here as well. So I'm good there. What I'm going to do is cut off some of this excess off the end on this side here, because that's the way it won't be fighting me a little bit later. So I'm going to use just my back slitter. You can use a knife or scissors, whatever you've got. I like this because it reduces the chance of cutting the car accidentally if you're using a knife, cutting this way towards the car. All right, so now that I've got my piece generally mocked up, set up where I want or need it to be, I'm gonna go ahead and start peeling this vinyl off. So I'll start with one end here. And now I'm going to peel out the corner, get that started. And I like to kind of get a 45-degree angle on my peel. Go ahead and just tack this here. I'm going to tack it to the paint, in case the vinyl of the car. And then I'm going to add back my magnets so that it reduces the chance of that side falling off on pulling off the rest here. All right, so I got my vinyl peeled. Looks like a giant mess because right now it is. So the next step is we're going to have to go ahead and glass it out a little bit, and I'll do one side at a time. And we'll be doing the triangle method where I'll be pulling it in a triangular fashion. So this way, up and down, and then at the same time pulling straight back. So that's what is referred to as triangles to make glass. So I'll start on this side here, just because. Pop the vinyl off. Okay, so I'm just going to double check and make sure my placement's good. This is not going to be a full glass out yet. Right now I'm just trying to get things cleaned up and set up. So you can see I'm pulling up, out, and away, kind of triangling it out. Basically I'm just trying to get things set up to do a really solid glassing this out. I want to make sure that I'm as high or as low as I need it to be. Looks like there's my lowest point there. So that's good, I'm comfortable with that. Pop this off. Now this vinyl, you can see, is sticking pretty hard right now. It's pretty warm in my garage. It's at least 80 degrees Fahrenheit in here. Vivid's adhesive is a heat activated adhesive. So with it being warm in here, it's grabbing pretty hard onto the surfaces of the bumper in this case. All right, so what I'm doing is found my center, I'm anchoring it down. I know I'm good here. And then what I'm gonna do is start to glass this out a little bit more. Also, this vinyl has a plastic protective cap on it that is stretchable with the vinyl, and I'm leaving it on during installation, at least for most of the installation. All right, so now I got center down a little bit better. I'm gonna go ahead and try to glass this out really good, and I want to get a really good horizontal stretch across here so that that wrinkle, if you will, is horizontally placed. That will help me a little bit later as I apply this. For now, I'm not going to add any heat. Again, it's a little warm in here, so this is stretching pretty nicely. As you can see, I'm blasting it out. While stretching, I'm going to move my hands a little closer. And I'm pulling up, down, back. We're creating that triangle. And I'm really putting my weight into this. I don't know if you can see that I'm really leaning back into this. I want to get a really good stretch around the curved part. Okay. And what I'm trying to do is lay it on this the highest body line of the bumper, if you will. Come back just a little bit and clean this up a little bit better around the side. Tap that. And continue this process a little bit more until I get the bumper looking pretty clean and pretty glassed out. Right there. You need to do this a couple times. It helps if you have a friend. It might come to a point where I do need to add some heat to help with this. So right now I'm okay with this. Let me see what I'm looking like here. Horizontal wrinkles, not really a big deal. Just basically pop it up and pull it down perpendicular, and it glasses out. Forms a smooth surface there. And that's what you want. Glass. Okay. Pop this out a little bit. See if I can work this area down just a bit more. Okay. Bottom of my lower grill area there. Pull that up a little bit, get that there. Here's where I may need to add just a little bit of heat to help me out to get that down. But before I do that, in case I need to pop everything up, and check my upper side here. Get this cleaned up a bit. Horizontal-ish wrinkle, pop it, pull it up. Okay, I think I'm okay with that. This emblem here is a high point, so it's kind of catching and causing tension on this area. But I think I'm doable with that. I can be okay with that. Pop this up. And I'm going to try adding a little bit of heat right here. See if it'll shrink it down. And I'm heating a broad area, not just right here, but kind of the whole broad area. And I'm going to see if this lays down nicely or not. Yeah, mostly. Try that again here. And I can eventually cut here, make a tab and grab this and fix that up. So knowing that, I can take that in a minute. Looks like there's something there. Alright, so I got that little bit of dirt or whatever that was that got caught behind my vinyl. Come back, let's clean this up a little bit here since I was man-manning with this a little bit. And get that set down. And get that applied. Let's get this sort of laid down there. Alright, so now I've got this part here. Now I take care of this area down here. Do the same thing, just add a little bit of heat here to soften it up. Keep the broad area, not just concentrated in one area. That way when you stretch it, the stretch is spread out and not just super concentrated in a tight little area, which can cause too much tension and eventually failure or pullback of your vinyl. And again, guys, remember I still have the plastic protective cap on the vinyl right now as well. So, all right, with that set up, I'm going to go ahead and start trying to apply a little bit more back here towards the back part of this here. Okay. Now I know that I got this black plastic cladding here. It's kind of creating a high point binding my vinyl, so what I might do is go ahead and cut some of this out so that it doesn't bind up so much here. It'll be the same kind of right here, then I can lay in a lot better. So just double checking where my placement is. Black plastic cladding actually goes over here, so let's just do carefully cut so I don't scratch up my car. All right, bring this back again. Actually, I'm going to cut a little bit more off of here so I don't have quite so much floppiness. And it's basically getting rid of too much excess vinyl that makes it hard to control the vinyl as I'm applying it. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and again triangle this out as best I can. And I'm pulling really hard and leaning back using my body weight. Okay. Get that to there. So I got it kind of where I want it. Lock it down. Start applying it. That corner little bumper top right there. Pop this up. Just bring it up to the corner top there. There's my bumper side edge. Alright, so I'm going to start relief cutting here as well. You can see the tension here created by this high point. So I'm going to go basically cut all this off here so that then I can pop this up and then start applying the rest of this vinyl down without it binding quite so hard. And even cut a little more here because you see the tension that's creating right there. Go ahead and make a little bit more. Alright guys, quick pause there to reset the camera to a better view so you can see what I'm doing on this side here. So now I'm just going to, again, I was getting this set up to get this laid down. So popping it back up a little bit here. Okay. Give this a little bit of heat, soften it up. Again, trying to get a bigger, broader area. I'm going to try to glass this out. Again, a triangle going this way and this way. And lay that down. My vinyl or the end of my bumper on this side here. Okay. I don't want to create too much of a pocket right here, so I'm going to bring this up right here where I was getting a little bunching of vinyl there. So now I've basically opened it up again. I might even create a little bit more of a relief cut here. That way this can lay down a little bit better. Get my heat gun, heat this whole area. And I'm going to let it chill just for a second before I try to lay it down. Let me get that up. Glass this out. Triangle again, this way and that way. Just like that. All right. Then squeegee that down. Now I pulled it hard enough to glass it, but I wasn't trying to kill it. Just enough to make it smooth and glass-like. No need to kill it and overstretch it, because that's exactly what will happen. It'll get overstretched, and then like down here in particular towards the edges, it has a chance of popping back up. All right, so continuing back this way a bit. I'm just trying to get this tucked into the black plastic here. Get a good line set up there, just like that. All right, and then on the back side of the fender here, I'm just going to flush cut it, meaning just cut against the side. I'm not going to wrap around and under because I have some fender well guards that go back on here that will cover up this edge here, so there's no need for me to wrap underneath on this side here. All right, so, and then on the top, I'm gonna go over a little bit. So let's see if I can get this set up here now. Okay. A little bit of heat to kind of warm this area up. In the corner. I'm gonna fix up this front area here. Over here, a little bit better. Again, heating broad areas, not one small area. Okay. There's the top of my edge. Small bubble there, so I'll pop that up there. All right, cool. So you can see how nice and smooth the majority of this side is so far. There's areas I still have to address, namely where the headlight goes into, so we'll start taking care of that right now. Fingers slide on the vinyl a little bit easier. So I'm defining or outlining my headlight there. I got a pretty deep recess here, and this is pretty tight. So what I want to do is, knowing that this edge here is going to be just a slight wraparound, just like that, I can create a little bit of a relief cut here, just like this. And I do know that I have to go down and in a little bit here. So I'm going to make this a circle so it doesn't rip and split into anywhere I want. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this whole area and kind of pull forward to try to give this vinyl into this area here. So heating this whole area, get that smoothed up and clean, set my line, heating up back here too, because I'm making this vinyl soft as well so that it moves this way into this deep area here. It's a technique that Justin Pate, if you watch some of his videos, calls feeding the mouth. And so I want to try to feed this mouth with vinyl. You can see I'm pulling vinyl from all this area here because it's soft and trying to give it to this area here. And by doing so, that reduces the amount of tension that goes into this deep recessed area. So if you can't get this to work in this technique, what you can do is just do an inlay first if you wanted to. Basically a strip of the same color or a different color like carbon fiber or black as an accent to then add to this area here. All right, so got a little bit more to go. I'm just double checking to see how much leeway I have here. I'm gonna go ahead and hook my corner here. Get that essentially set up for a little bit later. because I need to know how much up here I need to wrap in and how much I can cut away for relief. Okay, so I keep this and shrink that around my corner there. All right. So I do need a little bit more relief because this is just too much here. I'm trying to work out here, but I also have to make sure I leave enough to lay down on this flat part here. So I'm going to, knowing that that's as deep as that needs to go, and cut this away. And just kind of cut a little closer, double check, see how much space I have or need. Feed everything back up here. And I'm going to focus on moving some of this vinyl forward. As you can see, it's kind of crinkling up here because I have a vinyl that's going towards that area. And I'm laying it down as well. So you can see I'm pulling this vinyl this way. And if I need to, let me double check this area here. Probably relief cut some of this so that it moves a little bit more as well. This moves down. All right. Double check. Again, just take your time doing this so you don't mess it up. Because if you cut too short, then you either have to start over or go with a different patch it in, which looks kind of ugly, in my opinion, unless you do a really nice job, or just do an inlay, or now an overlay in this. It would be in this case. All right, so a little bit more to go here. So I'm going to cut a little bit more here as a relief, just like this. And that should allow more vinyl to fall and move in. So again, heating the whole area, not just here, heating a lot back here so that stuff moves as well. Okay, pushing this vinyl. Pulling, you can see me pulling this vinyl here. Actually, I'll heat here so some more of this stuff moves with it. Okay, so I'm no kidding, I'm pulling vinyl from way back here that I know is just going to get cut away later. Bring that back up. Try to get all that stuff. Again, I'm just pulling and pushing it and trying to feed this mouth here, because it is kind of a deeper recess, so I want to feed that mouth with as much vinyl as I can get towards it. So just continue this process on. All right, so I've got to a point where I think I can cut behind this now. And that will kind of relieve some tension here. And that should allow me to kind of swing this in a sense, towards this remaining area here. I'm at my edges, I'm pretty close. Just need to give a little bit more relief in certain areas so that the vinyl can drop in a little bit more freely. Area. I'm going to try to move some of this vinyl towards it, just like that. So I'm pushing it towards it and then laying it down with my other hand. Taking this vinyl, pushing it towards the mouth, while simultaneously laying it down with my other hand here. Right, so that's that. That's set there. Just about there. Trim some more of this off. See, I'm pulling it towards it just like that. Okay. further I have to go yet. A little bit more, almost there. Again, I'm taking my time because I don't want to cause too much tension or stress in this area. Now I'm at a point where I'm just going for it, and I have a split there so that it will split on purpose. But I want to control that split so it doesn't go into an area that I still need covered. So I'm going to cut it just a little bit more, and that split will allow, as I move this more towards the area where it needs to go, it relieves and splits open and relieves the pressure or the tension as I go in a little bit further. And then the split, if I did right, will end right at the back side of the lamp, which it does just like that. Cool, so I've got that worked in. Yeah, I tried to pull vinyl from, that's why I left a lot of material here. Try to pull as much in and then make relief cuts, relief areas as I went to alleviate some of the tension happening as I try to get in here. All right, so let's get the rest of this here laid down. Pull this area off of here for now, so I can see what's going on. Start trimming off some of this excess here. It's just too much getting in the way. Like that. All right. A little corner there that I want to take care of. Make sure how much further I have to go here. Not very much further, and I can actually just hit it with a little bit of heat to take care of that area up here. So, can you see it? Yes. There. There we go. All right. Got a little corner here. So I'm going to keep that area and then hook that corner, hook it over top. Use a squeegee to help me get that hooked over. Start dropping that down over the edge. This one I don't need to necessarily tuck in all the way because I know as long as I get it rolled over the edge, it gets the fender and the bumper come together pretty tightly, so I just got to have it rolled over the edge just a little bit there. All right, make sure I got that cleaned out nice and good. Got that right there. So I'm trimming off a little bit more of this excess here as well. And then it'll be very important, this vinyl, it's very important to post heat anywhere that you had or have any kind of tension in particular. That's why I was trying to make sure I did not, that's the clear plastic protective cap popping up a little bit there. That's why I was trying to feed it in instead of just forcing it in. All right, I'm just gonna use the back side of the bumper light housing area to make my trim. Make sure that's laid down the way I want it. And just using the back side of the bumper headlight area as my cut line and my cut guide. Put my corner a little bit better. Make it look a little nicer there. Again, not too concerned because of where it comes together and the light hooking up. Don't need that much knife blade out. All right. Keep this up one more time to make sure it looks nice the way I want it to. Okay. I'm going to cut behind my corner and away, cutting behind my corner and away there as well. All right. Top side here. Following the natural, there's a natural body line or edge line that I'm cutting on, or using the side of my blade as the guide, or it's guiding my blade. this off. And this edge here I'm not too worried about, simply because I know that I'm going to have that fender well guard covering this area. So I'm not going to worry too much about hooking my corner because it will be fully covered. But here, again, flush cutting this, again, because I have that guard. Flush cutting is basically just cutting with the side of your blade against one of the edges. All right, so get these tucked in nicely. If I need to make any more relief cuts to allow this to feed in a little better, I can do so. And I'm just trying to make a good line that I will be cutting, using as my cut line guide for that. Okay, boom. So essentially I've got this side, except for some other trimming out, essentially I got this side mostly done. All right, so for this side it's gonna be essentially the same as that side, so I'm gonna do the exact same process. I'm gonna glass it out with triangles and work it basically the exact same way you saw on the other side there. All right, so you can see I'm starting to trim out this area here where the black plastic cladding and the painted part of the bumper meet. So it's important you have a good line defined by, I use the hard edge of my squeegee and or my micro squeegee to help do that, define that line. And then carefully, in this case, follow it. If you're not comfortable cutting on a car, you can always use knifeless tape and get this pre-set up. And again, as long as you have a good line to follow, basically the line that you set and define, your blade will essentially just follow that. And so just, again, have a super sharp blade, snap off a new part of it. That way the knife blade does all the work, and you don't have to put much pressure at all, very little to no pressure at all for it to cut. See, I got that trimmed up there. Still got to get the top part, but I'll finish this out here. Alright guys, so I finished trimming out that lower section there, and I went ahead and just finished off trimming out this side here and up here as well. You can see the plastic protective cap, started peeling that a little bit here. At the top, what I did so far is I cut off my corner and started tucking this back a little bit because I'm going to tuck it down just a little bit and trim that area as well. And then at the same time, I also went ahead and trimmed off this bottom lower section here. So basically now I'm going to be taking care of the center section of the bumper. Okay, so like I said, I was tucking in this top area here, trimmed off some of the excess, tucking this in so I can cut this back here a little bit. Kind of setting this up here, make relief cuts around the grill itself there, and then I have the underneath there to take care of as well. To finish this off, I'm going to go ahead and peel off the plastic protective cap here. And then you'll see how super glossy, really nice looking this vinyl color is. Hard to describe, seeing it in person. It's super smooth, it's super glossy, but this color, it's a solid color, so there's no flake or anything like that. Anyway, it's got a really smooth, clean look to it, almost like a creamy kind of look, smooth look to that. That's not necessarily the best way to describe it, but it's the best way I can think of right now. The way the color and the finish looks on this here, it's super smooth, really nice looking. So anyway, continuing on, like I said, I got this tucked in up here, and I don't need to cut too far back, maybe just like 1/8 of an inch. That will just tuck down into this area back here. So carefully I'm going to cut this because I don't want to cut this rubber seal that's back here either. So I'm trying to cut about 1/8 of an inch past. Actually, I have my blade pushed up against the side sort of that rubber seal to try to ensure that I don't cut it. Almost to the end, getting to my corner. Got that there. I'm going to heat this real quick so that I can tuck it down. And heating it in this case will heating it up just to soften it, so that the vinyl is more malleable, more pliable, and then it'll just drop down there a lot more nicely. I'll heat it again a little bit later as part of a post heat to make sure that it stays really good. Again, this vinyl, I believe all Vivid automotive vinyls, is a heat activated adhesive, so you definitely, when you're done, particularly on your edges, you want to post heat really well all over, but in particular your edges. Alright, so that top part is tucked in for now. Start getting this set up to cut out. I do know that my grill tucks in just a bit there. I'm going to cut up along here to essentially make a relief cut so that I can tuck those areas in a little bit better. Kind of get this started, and I'm actually using the side of the grill trim to help I'm just floating my knife up there. All right. And now that that's relieved, I can lift up the vinyl off of the chrome. This chrome is a high surface energy, so vinyl likes to stick to it. Again, it's also warm in here, so this vinyl in particular is sticking a little harder to everything that it touches, especially if it's high surface energy. In this case, it probably would have been a better idea for me to go ahead and tape off at least the chrome piece of this grill so it's not grabbing quite so hard. Didn't do that. Lesson learned, I guess. So, regardless, it's doable. We can work it around. Just makes your life easier if you go ahead and tape it off with some painter's tape or masking tape. And that will make your life easier because this will just slide right off of this chrome instead of sticking to it like it is right now, and I have to pick it up and try to move it. Alright, so now that I've got this all tucked in pretty good and tightly, I'm going to go ahead and start trimming this out and make sure it's fully tucked in. I'm going to be basically pushing the side of my blade against the top side of the grill chrome bezel piece here. Alright, so that's trimmed out. Get your micro squeegee, make sure everything's tucked in nicely. Alright, so the last part to do on this bumper wrap is this lower part. It does go in a little bit here underneath, and then it hits a black plastic trim grill like thing underneath there. So two options here. You can kind of just roll it in a little bit and flush cut it because it's underneath and it's so low, no one's gonna see it, except for maybe when you're laying on the ground looking up, doing oil changes or whatever. So really it's your option on how you wanna do that. I'm gonna take a look and see if I can just roll it under. If not, I'm just gonna kind of cheat a little bit and just roll it under a little bit and then just trim it off about maybe 1/8 of an inch. Alright guys, and that'll do it for wrapping this bumper, except for doing a final post heat on all my edges and over the general surfaces of the bumper itself. But here we go. This is fully wrapped. Take a look at the areas here. Underneath. All right, guys, so that is the bumper fully wrapped.